Good morning, good evening, and good day. Thank you so much for watching Attack Power Gaming. I have a very exciting video today. I am here with Bandanner, who is another YouTuber here who plays and casts a lot of Warno stuff. Say hello.
Hi everyone, welcome to the video.
Yeah, super excited. He's going to help me build a Warno deck here today. Try to get me off on the right foot as I dive into Warno. If you guys enjoyed this content, please make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to both our channels because he puts out some great stuff, and consider supporting me on Patreon if you enjoy what you see. So let's dive right in here. So we're going to start with the logistics tab, of course. So Bandanner, I got three options here. Which one am I loving most?
So it really depends on how you feel yourself and what you're planning to use them for. My advice is generally to go for the M35 supply. It's got a reasonable availability because you get 6 of them, and it's got 800 supply. If you then go to the M113 and have a look at that, you can see it's only got 500 supply. So you're getting a little bit less. Yes, you get more availability. They're a little bit slower. Obviously, price isn't hugely different considering you're getting quite a bit less in terms of the supply.
Yeah. Okay. All right. And I know, because again, this is different from Steel Division. In Steel Division, you can't resupply your troops and stuff. Are you bringing these in pretty aggressively?
So again, it depends how you play. I personally tend to bring them quite often right up to the front line because I want them there to rearm everything and repair stuff pretty quickly, because if your tank takes a bit of damage, you're going to want to pull them back from like the very front to just behind, so they're in a bit of cover, and repair them and then get them back up to the front.
All right, so am I taking one or two, do you think? I know at least one, but
I would honestly probably take both stacks.
Take both? All right.
Obviously, you've also got the Helmet there, which is a bit more expensive. It has a lot more in there, but the reason I tend not to go for it, other people will differ in their opinion, is you only get 2 of them, and I tend to have units spread across a whole map, especially if you're playing 1v1s or 2v2 team game. And having just 2 available to you means that you're only covering very small areas for resupply.
Well, and I'd be terrified of losing this thing. Like, because you only get 2 if it dies.
That is the other concern. Yeah, that is the other concern.
Yeah, you're really screwed. CV-wise, I'm assuming I would go with the highest number, right? I mean, simply just most.
Again, yeah, it's about number. Obviously, this is a very weak vehicle. It's a little Jeep, so it's going to get killed very easily, even from some artillery fire, bombers, etc. You can go with the M577, little bit of armor, but honestly, it's not a lot. If an infantry unit gets near it, it's still dead.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, I don't think the armor makes a huge... It's only 1 top, so artillery will still take this out after a couple hits. So we're going to go...
So my advice is always go with the availability.
Do we go with 2? That would be my question.
I would advise no, because we're going to take commands in other parts of the deck.
Okay. I'm always afraid to use up infantry slots on command because you need so much infantry.
Well, that's one of the beauties of the 8th Infantry deck, is you get a huge amount of infantry anyway. So don't be afraid in a deck like this, where we're going to fill all of these slots, to take command infantry, because they are useful. They're good for hiding in buildings and things.
All right. So let's hop over to my favorite tab in the deck, of course, that infantry tab. So are the when I played at the beginning, these military police were pretty OP, like just stupid good for their price. Are they still that?
They are not as good as they once were. They were nerfed. Their fire rate was significantly reduced, but a lot of people still bring them. They're still quite useful because of their range. They outrange a lot of the other infantry in terms of their anti-vehicle capability. So at the start of a game, you can be popping enemy infantry fighting vehicles before they would necessarily be popping yours.
Well, yeah, and they get up pretty quick. I guess not. This is as fast as I... Oh, yeah, road speed, 108 kilometers. Yeah. So it's moving. It's all right. Let's take them. Let's give them a go. I think double vet's already pretty good, right? Or should I...
Double vet is more than enough for these guys. You want numbers more than you want sort of increased veterans.
That's what I figured. Now, these guys aren't good, right? I mean, these military police.
Avoid those guys. They're a 5-man squad with just a machine gun, and they're not worth it.
Well, and infantry melt pretty fast in this game to start, so 5 men don't seem to last very long.
No, you want to take as big a squads as possible for the most part.
Yeah. All right, hopping down to these. So we have 3 kinds of engineers here, and I'm always like kicking around. Now, I know the demolition charge guys were recently nerfed, right?
So yeah, they've been changed slightly. So the satchel charges are still amazing, but from my playing with them in the latest patch, it's now not the case that they seem to throw while they're moving. They now have to be stationary to throw those satchel charges.
They made it static.
Yeah. However, they are still devastating. If they hit an infantry squad, the infantry squad is dead in 1 or 2 hits.
Okay. My only concern is, like, so if I attack move these guys, they're going to stop way out of range of this satchel charge.
Yeah, so what I tend to do is actually disable their machine gun and their rifle and just accept that I'm using these guys as literally grenade throwers.
Oh, wow. Okay, that's interesting. So I'm assuming, though, I would take them at 1 vet because I just want as many as possible to fill up forests and towns.
That is correct.
And especially if I'm using them as a suicide squad, too.
Yeah, and I mean, you don't have to use them as a suicide squad. You could leave all the weapons on and just micro them straight into the enemy units and let them fire every.
I feel like they almost, I mean, it's not obviously not possible that they could throw something more than 175 meters to start. But, like, I find it frustrating because the lines of sight in the woods seem to be bigger in this game. So, like, they don't even get in range of this satchel charge most of the time unless you walk them into them.
Yeah, no, they don't. You really have to micro them and do it yourself.
Yeah, that's very frustrating to me. All right, well, let's throw now. Any difference here? Does it really matter? I mean, the truck is way faster.
For me, here, it's all about the truck because you can sell it afterward.
Gotcha. So the machine gun that the transport adds is not worth the firepower.
Not in my opinion. I mean, you know, some of these vehicles, if you've got a huge mass of them, they can be very annoying, but I think for the fact that you get the money back from the non-armed vehicles, it's worth it to get that money back and bring in another couple of squads of infantry.
Okay, so Engineer's Flash, any good?
Yes, very good. So these guys are great at obviously clearing buildings, they're good for clearing forests, you know, and they have that range where the satchel charges don't.
Okay, well, I'll get those then, too. The Dragon feels like not the right place to get a long-range AT, because it's an engineer, right?
Yeah, well, you know, my only advice is you would probably want the mech rifles.
Yeah.
But I can't remember if the mech rifles get a Dragon in this deck, do they?
They do, right here.
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah.
So this is redundant.
Yeah, it's because they're missing the...
Machine gun.
Machine guns, basically.
And is the machine gun's that big of a deal? Like, because in SD2, you know, like, having a machine gun's a big deal. Like, having that light machine gun is huge. Is it that huge in this game as well?
So the aim with this game with the machine guns is that they will stun lock the enemy infantry. That's the plan, so that they're basically more suppression. And in more recent patches, that has started to work. So yes, having multiple machine guns is helpful.
Okay, all right. Because when I first started playing, it didn't feel like having a machine gun made a big difference. I was like, I didn't feel like units with machine guns outputted that much more damage.
No, at the very start, they definitely didn't. And then there was this period where they accidentally buffed a lot of the machine guns, particularly the German machine guns, had, I think, like double the fire rate of every other machine gun in the game. And they were just mowing everybody down to the point that people didn't want to play the game.
Very nice. Always love it. Well, let's hop down here to our, like, meat and potatoes of this division, I guess. Oh, no, there's a lot more down here, but I think these are the...
Yeah, there's a lot, but yeah, the mech rifles are your go-to.
Am I taking a mech rifle leader? Is there a better leader to take? Oh, the Jägerführer comes in with 4, so I would assume him.
Well, in my personal opinion, probably the 4 is better. The only time that I would make another decision when it comes to an infantry commander is if there's one available that has an anti-air weapon as well.
Oh, okay. All right, well, I don't think we have that, right?
It's in this deck now.
No, so let's go. I'll just throw this Jägerführer in here so I have it. Take up that slot that I need and hop back up to the mech rifles here. So we have the mech rifles with the Law, which does not seem very good to me.
It's not great, but, you know, they are an 11-man squad. They still have the 3 machine guns, so they're not a bad unit, but they are going to be more up-close personal when it's taking out vehicles.
Well, and they have 3 machine guns here, I just saw. Wow, okay. And then we have the mech rifles with the Dragon, which I feel like is just way better.
Yeah, so obviously you're paying extra for the Dragon, but it's got the range, it's got more damage. So they're really good for sticking in the edges of towns, in the edges of forests, and taking out incoming vehicles that are trying to storm that area.
So would you say a mix of these, or just the dragon ones, or?
This is a completely personal choice for you. I quite like the dragons, so I would probably take 2 stacks of dragons because I like having the ability to stick them in the edge of a town, as I say, and just do damage to incoming vehicles. It also puts people off attacking you when they see a load of missiles coming towards them.
Yeah. So would you double vet these, or you could leave them single vet?
I'd probably consider double vetting them. However, due to how fast they're all dying at the moment in the current patch, I wouldn't bother double vetting them. I just want more rather than less.
Okay, then there we go. Our nice 18 there. The fire teams seem a little underwhelming. This one definitely feels underwhelming to me, especially at 5 men. This one's got a good AT rocket, but it's not super long range, and it's a small squad.
Yeah, so, you know, obviously, if you're going to get up close and personal with enemy tanks, then it's really helpful, especially if you can get a side shot on a tank. It's going to destroy that tank. But, yeah, this is a personal choice. Depends on how you micro your infantry.
All right. Oh, I did forget. Should I be taking the, for the mech rifles? Oh, the mech rifles law these don't have the dragon version here. Okay, I take it back.
Yeah.
Now. Because I was gonna ask, should I take this? Okay, down.
Again,
sorry, go ahead.
I think I was going to say, with most of the support vehicles for bringing in infantry and things, it's kind of a personal choice on whether you feel you're going to use them. If you think you'll utilize it, then it's worth bringing them in for that reason. If you're not going to use them and you're just going to have them sat somewhere, then you're better off bringing a truck and selling it.
Okay. So is the Milan worth it? That's always a question I have. Are these... They seem strong. Well, this one doesn't seem that strong, but the better Milans and stuff.
Well, the Milans certainly aren't bad, but what you want is the tow.
Yeah, okay. Is it here? Do I have a tow?
It should be.
Oh, yep, down here.
Yeah, there you go. Tow 2.
So this is worth bringing in, I suppose?
Yeah, very much so. You don't need to up-vet it.
Sweet.
These things will vet themselves up after killing a tank.
Oh, okay. Well, and they can forward deploy, right?
Yes, they can. No, not in this deck, sorry. Not in this deck.
Oh, okay.
So the 8th don't get any forward deployment. They're not an airborne.
Oh, all right, all right. So arrow rifles, are these guys... What's going on with these?
So arrow rifles, at the moment, they're very good because if the chopper gets blown out the sky, they magically teleport Star Trek style to the ground.
Yeah, I've noticed that in your streams.
I complain about it a lot, I know.
Well, it is crap.
So this is how you want to use them. If you want to be a bit of a cheeser and, you know, rush them over the enemy point, let the enemy destroy them, and your guys drop right next to their CV and pop it, then they're very well worth it, you know.
That's disgusting. I will not do that. I am not a cheese player. I'm insulted. I'm insulted you would imply I would do such a thing. Oh God. No, then forget them. What about these Heimatschützen?
So, great little squad. You get 12 of them. Obviously, they're cannon fodder to some extent, but you get so many of them, and they have decent weaponry, and they're an 11-man squad. So I'd bring them because you can flood an area with those, you know, in particular a forested map where you need to just go in with lots of infantry.
I mean, it just seems like a Jaeger, but with more of them, right?
Yeah, basically, the main difference is obviously technically the Jaeger have a bit of training, but I mean, I've never really had problems with troops running away. You know, their cohesion drops, but...
Okay. You don't have to convince me anymore. Cool, and then... What are these gunners? Oh, it's a triple machine gun squad, I suppose.
Yeah. So these guys were added in the previous patch. That all the factions, to some extent, get
some
kind of gunner squad.
Yeah.
Obviously, these are slightly better than the mech rifles. The mech rifles obviously get the 3 249s. The M60s are a bit better. They do a bit more damage, etc. So yeah, you can see those there. It's not a huge increase, and to be honest, with the way that infantry are melting at the moment, I wouldn't stress about it too much.
Okay, and the only other option then is these Rangers. But they're a small squad.
They are, again, a small squad. They can come in a chopper. So, again, these guys are sort of your, if you want to be a bit cheesy.
I do not.
So, personally, I would say gunners are good. You could even take more mech rifles.
I think I will. I think I'll just go do another card of mech rifles here just to max out the mech rifliness. Because they are clearly the best infantry you got here.
Yeah, they're very good.
All right.
And then,
oops, sorry, guys.
Go back. You have to fill that last slot. You're not getting away. You have to fill it.
Oh, okay. All right. Then I guess
I'd consider taking the gunners or the Jaeger.
let's go with the gunners. They're only 5 points more, same availability, and they're definitely better.
Yeah.
And we'll just no vet them. So we have 85 infantry. Is that a lot? That feels like a lot.
I promise you, if you play a full 40-minute game, you'll be struggling by the end of it.
Okay. I'm happy. In my Steel Division decks, I'm always like 80-plus infantry. Like, I feel sick if I don't have that much.
I found myself in long games running out towards the end and having to bring in recon infantry to supplement my force.
There we go. So this is that new, like, Toad thing. These seem really good for their price.
So, mortars
aren't very good.
A bit hit and miss. They're great for smoking.
Okay.
So if you're going to use them to smoke for pushing, to block the enemy firing at you, whatever you want to use smoke for, mortars are great. But unfortunately, other than causing a bit of cohesion loss, they're not great at killing stuff.
So you'd suggest against them?
I'd say if you want something to smoke with, take some mortars rather than artillery, definitely. But equally, you could take mortars that have wheels or track.
But you get so like, I mean, you could call so many of, like, call 4 of these in for 80 points, basically. And maybe have a chance of doing a lick of damage. Yeah,
no, that's very true. So this again comes down to a personal choice, what you're planning to use them for, and if you're going to use them.
Let's give it a try. We can take it out if I need points somewhere else.
The truth is, the Toad stuff's really fun to watch them unload it and stuff, because they've gone to a lot of effort on the animation.
Oh, that's cool. Is the artillery worth it, the bigger stuff here?
So some of the artillery is reasonably good. If you've got a static infantry in a building that you're facing off against, then they're quite good at collapsing the buildings and potentially killing the infantry. They're not so good at hitting vehicles and things, because at the moment artillery in the game always fires in a pattern of left to right.
Yeah.
So it's quite easy to just move out of the way.
Yep. I have heard that. Well, let's I guess I'll throw this big one in and we'll take it out if I want something else instead. And the
I think, they're pretty good. If you're planning to hit a town, they will do their job.
Okay. The rockets seem bad when I've used them.
Yeah, they're not great. Again, they move so slowly through the air, people just have time to get out of the way.
Yeah. All right, well then off to our tank tab. Here we go. Oh, good old Hetzer sort of thing. These are bad, I know.
Well, you say that.
Well, they spam them. You could spam them, and they have armor.
Yeah, they have armor. You can spam them. They're good at fire support. They're a little bit of harassment, and they are kinetic. So if you can get them up close and personal to enemy tanks, they're still going to penetrate them.
Is that how that works?
Yeah. So I think it's every 195 meters that you get closer to the enemy, your penetration goes up by 1 point.
Oh, really? Okay. So this can actually be like a 20-point penetration at really close range.
Yeah, so if you're, like, in their face, you can do a lot of damage.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll put that on the back burner, see what we got here. How are these M60s? Are these more like just... I mean, any tank is a good tank, really, at the end of the day. But, I mean, for 80 points, 10 front and 15 damage doesn't seem bad.
No, they're not bad. And I think it's very easy in, coming from Wargame especially... Looking at these stats, on paper they don't look great, but actually For fire support for infantry, so firing at enemy infantry and light vehicles, they're very good. And also, you know, again, if you can get them up close and personal, they will do that additional damage.
Oh, they have kinetic rounds as well. Okay. Yeah, let's take a card of these. Why not? I mean, adding another vet only takes 2 away, which I think is a pretty good trade-off, but they're already at the double vet.
I think they're fine at the double vet. I mean, the thing that obviously has come over from Steel Division 2 is that if you have a command near them, they'll vet up another level.
Yep. Do you find you do that a lot or not?
On occasion, if I'm playing a deck that is tank heavy and I'm sort of in a defensive position in a point, I'll generally try and have a command tank just behind my front line that's, you know, buffing the tanks in the front. The reason for that in this game more than anything else is that for some bizarre reason, they've made it so that veterancy improves tank reload time, and that includes auto-loaders. Because some of the tanks in the game would have auto-loaders that wouldn't really improve reload time with veterans.
Yeah, I understand having to kind of make it across the board sort of thing, I guess. That's where
we'll see if that changes.
That's where I feel like that's where the realism bumps up against the game factor of it, where they have that issue of they're trying to make it realistic, but there's also game factors to consider.
Yeah, definitely.
These, I mean, I know they buffed these recently, but they're still not worth it, right?
No, they're way too expensive for what they are.
Yeah. Super good support weapon, right?
Yeah, really good support weapons. So obviously HE explosives, really high damage to infantry. They will do a lot of damage to your squad, but obviously fairly weak. So you have to try and keep them at a reasonable distance.
Well, let's see if we have room for them, because I definitely want my my Abrams as much as I can. I mean, it's a pretty significant upgrade, I guess, but it's a lot more points for the M1A1.
It is worth it.
Okay. I would say
100%.
double that, right?
Double vet, yeah. And I'd probably take 2 cards of those personally, at least.
Yeah. Maybe a card of M1s? Just regular M1s?
Yeah, I'd probably vet those up as well, though.
Yeah. And then maybe the CEV?
So, again, this now comes down to how you plan to play your deck and what your play style is. If you're more of an aggressive player, then I'd suggest probably the CEVs, because they're going to be good for pushing the edges of towns and things like that.
Okay.
If you're more of a defensive player and you're going to be potentially losing tanks to, you know, cluster aircraft and things like that, then I'd take tanks, a proper tank, if you will, rather than the CEV.
Okay, let's take the proper tank then. Let's go with another M1 so I can sprinkle them about more.
Yep.
Alright, that looks pretty solid.
And then I would fill that last slot with a command tank.
Oh, you're a filler. Okay. This is the one we got here. I don't know, like, this feels like, why take it? It's so weak. This at least can survive.
Yeah, no, take the M1, definitely. You may get one more of the other one, but I'd take the M1.
Yeah.
Because, again, this is the situation where I'd be calling that in for a frontline point, preferably to also buff my other forces that are there.
Gotcha. All right, over to the recon tab here. Got some fun. I mean, Jaeger Aufklär are like a must-take in every deck, right?
Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt. I mean, they're an 11-man recon squad.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't?
The Bradleys are really strong as well now, right? Because they buffed even the
Yeah, so in the latest patch, the Bushmaster, or all the autocannons, have had another little buff, but it's also got the TOW 2 and it's got optics. There is nothing bad about that vehicle.
Do I take both cards?
Again, that comes down to your personal preference. I have both in my deck.
Yeah, I probably would. I do like these kind of units, and I think one more, what, the LRS maybe?
Yeah, the LRS would be my personal choice. Some people would take the chopper, the Kiwa at the bottom. It's quite expensive. It does have Hellfires. And some people would take the Scout chopper as well. I tend to get choppers blown up a lot.
Yeah, I do too. Let's go with this guy. I always want these to work, but then they don't, and then I die.
Yeah, I don't babysit them enough, and then I suddenly hear the noise and they're already crashed. So
a little flaming ball on the ground.
Yeah.
To the AA tab here. The IHawks are the thing, right?
So the Eyehawks are the new thing. They're the big daddy. They've got a ridiculous range. You know, they have the highest range against aircraft in the game. You will need to supply these things because they only have a couple of missiles, but they're very good.
Both?
I would take both because you only get 3.
Okay. How about good old Chappie?
Chappie is really good as well. Absolutely no reason not to take a stack of those.
Do I double vet this one though?
I wouldn't bother.
No?
If you look at how much it increases the accuracy by, it's like 7%. I'd rather have 2 extra.
Okay. Are Stingers worth it or not?
So they've been nerfed in the latest patch. They were previously like 80% accuracy on second vet, but 50% still reasonably good. They're still pretty cheap. They fire reasonably fast. I like having a manpad in the deck because I like something to sit in
Towns.
a building or something like that. However, we're getting lower on points, so now you've got to decide where you want to spend.
I don't see me calling them in much, so let's leave that go. We'll come back if there's points open. Is either of these any good?
So they are both good. When it comes to attack choppers, again, are you going to bring them in? Are you going to babysit them? Are you going to use them? Obviously, ones with just rockets, very good against light vehicles, very good at stunning tanks, very good at killing infantry. If you're bringing in a tow cobra, obviously it has the advantage of also having a tow, so it can kill tanks more effectively. But whether you put helicopters in your deck is a completely personal choice, I think.
I think a card of each will be perfectly reasonable for the option.
Yeah. I don't think it's, at all unreasonable to fill every single 1-point slot in your deck.
Oh yeah, I don't like leaving 1-point slots. It kind of like bothers me a lot.
Yeah, I know the feeling.
Yeah, I'm like, wow, that's just wasteful not filling that up. And finally, Zertab here. I know the Thunderbolt just got a pretty hefty buff, right, to its gun.
So, as with all the autocannons, or chain guns in this case, they've all had a bit of a buff, yes. Its ATGM missile isn't the best in terms of its accuracy, but, it takes a bit of punishment compared to most jets. So if you're wanting something with anti-tank, then it's not a bad way to go.
Okay. And then we have the A-10 with the bombs. That doesn't seem... I feel like I'm calling this in to kill tanks for the most part, right?
Yeah, obviously it's HE bombs, so it will kill infantry, but it's a very slow plane, and I think you're better off bringing a different bomber if you have one available, which you technically do. Is
HE good, or is napalm better? Like, what's your preference?
I wouldn't touch napalm in this game currently.
Oh, is it? It's not good at all?
No. It's really not. From the testing I've done previously in the patches and stuff, we usually do sort of some patch testing after each one comes out. It just doesn't do enough damage.
Interesting.
It's compared to Wargame, where if you lace an area with napalm,
oh yeah,
then it spreads and everything sets on fire. The forest burns down. It does a lot of damage. It damages vehicles and everything. In this, they just seem to drive through it without really caring.
And what about those mini bomb ones? I know the Germans have a whole bunch of those.
Oh, the MW1 is ridiculously good.
Okay, that's what it looked like. I feel like the HE bombs miss a lot, and they do no damage at all.
So this is an issue in the game that is not just HE bombs. It also comes into the problem with the artillery, is that the explosion radius doesn't seem quite right. So if you get a direct hit with a bomb, it's going to do a lot of damage. If you're just outside of that blast area, then it's barely going to scratch you, if do anything to you at all.
Yeah, I felt frustrated using them. What about clusters? Are those any good yet?
Clusters are really good. So the only issue here is it's only got 2 bombs.
Oh yeah.
So your strike is going to have to be very precise if you're bringing that.
Are seed worth it or not yet really?
Seed are good. The only issue with seed is you have to kind of be very careful with them and be careful of your approach to the enemy. And obviously, if you're playing against more experienced players, they'll be turning their radar AA on and off. So a seed might not get a shot off, but it then might get shot down.
All right. Well, this is what I'm thinking. I'm thinking a Thunderbolt, because I do like having some anti-tank stuff.
Yep.
Direct. Obviously, we need some fighter here, and this is basically the only option.
Yes, it is. And it's not a bad choice.
No, it doesn't seem to be. It's got some long range, you know.
Yeah.
Air-to-air
I mean, it's
stuff.
not an F-15C, but it's it's as good as you're going to get in most decks.
Yeah. And then I'm thinking an HE bomber here, because that's what we got.
Yeah, that is probably the best one you've got there. It has 12 bombs. It kind of bombs in a straight line, usually, assuming, the bombs drop as they usually would. So you can bomb down a road, you can bomb along a town, bring it in sideways to get the most out of it.
Okay. So yeah, him, and then I was thinking maybe just the cluster as well.
Yeah, it's not going to do you any harm to bring in the cluster. Just bear in mind it only has the 2 bombs, so don't go after a large area, go after one vehicle.
Gotcha. All right, so we're all filled up here. Feels pretty good. I like it. Lots of things go boom.
Yeah, and this is the type of thing where, yes, I've talked through it and I've said what's good and bad, but you have to get a feel for your deck yourself. So it's the same when I do my deck build videos. My opinion is you can use all these things as a base, but you have to play with it and then adjust it to your playstyle.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Bandanner, for doing this with me. This was very informative. I think this is one of the hardest things when you start a game like Wargame or Warno or SD2 is, even once you kind of figure out how to play the game, actually building the decks, it takes a lot of experimentation. If no one's there to say, hey, this unit really isn't that good or this unit is much better, it can take a long time for you to realize, like, oh, maybe these engineered dragons just aren't very good, Yeah,
it's a difficult thing, and the reality is, bless you, Jen, the unit cards aren't always giving you all the information.
No, there's a lot of information behind the scenes. I made a whole video for SD2 about statistics you just don't ever see. There's no way to see them.
Yeah.
And damage doesn't output the way it shows, kind of thing. Like, the calculation between rate of fire and aiming and reload. There's all these behind the scenes statistics. There's really no way for them to show that exactly, kind of thing. But the numbers can be very deceiving at times.
Yeah, very much. And it comes down to, like we were talking about, the tanks there and the M60 and how, on paper its stats aren't fantastic, and the same with the Cannon Jagdpanzer. They don't have the best stats, but actually, if you can get them close to the enemy, they'll do a lot of damage.
Yeah, and there's no way to know that. Like, when I look at kinetic, it doesn't say anything about getting closer doing more damage.
No,
like, I have no reason that I could ever figure that out without someone telling me that.
Yeah, it's the only time you ever notice it is if you're in game and you target an enemy vehicle that you cannot pen, and as you get closer to it, it will then change to you can later pen it. I think that's also in SD2.
No, well, so yeah, there's a drop off. The further you are, technically your armor piercing value does go down.
Yeah.
But it does actually say that. It does mention in the in the little notes they give you, this number is at point blank range. In that game.
Okay, yeah.
But it's not clear either. You see, I have X number of penetration. I have 2,000 meter. I have 100 meters of penetration. That thing has 100 armor. Why isn't it penning? Well, because it's 1,500 meters away. So that's not actually your AP value at that point. And it's just like, I wish they would put here, like I'm looking at the kinetic thing, I wish they would put, it doesn't say anywhere. Like, I would at least say, we'll do higher penetration as it gets closer.
Yeah, it would be very nice if it says that.
Yeah, it doesn't have to say... It doesn't have to say exactly 190 meters. I mean, I think that would be nice, but I'm not pushing for that even. I'm just saying at least mention this will do more closer.
And I mean, in fairness, I just said about if you hover over a unit in game that you're going to attack, it'll tell you whether you can pen it or not. In fairness, sometimes that's even wrong. So one of the other new division that's been added, you've got the 82nd for NATO, and then you've got the 35th VDVs for the Pact side, and they have something called the Vasilic, and that's should be a mortar, but currently it fires like a grenade launcher, so it's pinpoint accurate.
Yes.
If you hover over an enemy armored vehicle, it will say impenetrable. You cannot attack this. Actually, if you fire at it, force fire it, it will fire on top of that vehicle and destroy it. So, you know, technically it can pen the top arm.
Yes, it's always that technically. Technically, it can.
But most people wouldn't know that.
No, there's no way to know. So, yeah, so I appreciate you doing this with me. I'm looking forward to hopping into a game with this thing and seeing how I take a whirl with it.
No, not a problem at all. I'm glad I could be of help and share some knowledge.
Yeah, absolutely. Everyone, don't forget to hit that like button. Consider subscribing to both our channels. Thank you so much for watching. Do you have anything to add there, Bandanner?
No, not at all. I hope you all enjoy Warno if you're playing it. If not, it's going to be worth picking up definitely in the future. It's got a lot of good content coming.
Oh yeah, they're going to make this will be a good game. At some point, this will be a great game. Is it yet? That's for your own argument to make. But
yeah, no, that's definitely an individual choice, and I always say that when people ask me. I can't sell you a game that is not finished. This is early access in its purest form.
Yep, it's got ways to go, but they do listen to the community. They have, you know, people who care a lot about making this game great, and I think in the long run it will come together quite well. So, thanks a bunch for watching, everyone. Don't forget, hit that like button, subscribe, and have a fantastic day.